I have 3 new finished objects this episode. Yay! Hi friends, it's Belinda here from Be Making Joy, and welcome to episode 32 of What Brings Me Joy, a mostly knitting podcast about every 2 or 3 weeks from my home here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. This is where I share my knitting progress, keep track of all my works in progress and everything that I cast on to hold myself accountable. And I hope to bring you some joy. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, I'm so glad to have you back. I am recording this on Monday, April 22nd. It's late afternoon. It's evening now, Monday evening. So it should be ready for your viewing on Wednesday. I finish editing and uploading. So happy Whip Wednesday. The two items that I had cast on last episode for the Wool, Wine and Wheels event that I was going on, the trip, the retreat, those 2 items are finished, and I'm excited to show you those. And I have photos of an item that I started, finished, and gave away all in the span of 2 days before we went on the trip. So that brings my whip count back down to 9. A number I'm a little more comfortable with. However, something else has come up that I need to cast on. I'll explain that when I share my acquisitions in the acquisition section. In the acquisition section, I'll have some items that I purchased at the Calgary Fibre Shindig and some items from my trip. And I also have the April color of the month from Ancient Arts Yarns. Yes, it's a little late in April now, but my previous episode was too early in April. I tend to receive the subscription around the 7th of each month. So I think there's only 1 or 2 other whips that I made some progress on. So that's all I will share today. I will not be taking you down to the basement to show you the quilt this episode. If you're interested in any one particular project, you can always find timestamps along the bottom of my videos, so you can easily find them. And in the description box, you will find links to anything that I talk about. I'm going to talk about my trip first before I share my finished objects. And at the end of this episode, there'll be a slideshow of my pictures. Actually, I have already uploaded a slideshow of my pictures. So probably at the end of this video, I will just make a link to that. So as you've heard already, the trip was called Wool, Wine and Wheels. It was organized by Barb and Cynthia, sisters from Yarniversity, formerly known as River City Yarns, out of Edmonton. The trip began in Edmonton. So I took the e-bus up there from Calgary. It's a 3-hour drive, but it was a 4-hour bus ride because it made stops along the way. And I got to knit. And the e-bus, I think the E stands for economy. It's cheaper. It's owned by Red Arrow, but it's cheaper. But that didn't matter. What mattered for me was the schedule. Because either way, I think it's better than trying to find a safe place to park the car for a week. And the cost of parking. So, yeah. So I had overdressed, and the 10-minute walk in Edmonton from the bus station to the hotel was exhausting. My COPD was really acting up by the time I got there, because it was the most walking I'd done since I broke my foot back in October. But it was refreshing. We stayed at the Fairmont McDonald in Edmonton for the first night. And that first night we had a wine tasting at Divine Wine and Spirits in Edmonton. And then the next morning, we got on a bus operated by Sundog Tours and drove to Jasper, where we stayed at the Jasper Park Lodge. I was going to say, I took it, I didn't realize or I've forgotten maybe, how far away Edmonton was from the mountains. And I only bring this up because we're so close here in Calgary, and we take it for granted that we're so close and that we could go anytime, that we really don't go anytime. Anyway, no matter what part of the Rockies you visit, it's beautiful. So the bus ride was really nice. In Jasper Park Lodge, we had some classes that were taught by Stephanie Pearl McPhee, who is also known online as the Yarn Harlot. So that was fun. She could be a comedian. She is so much fun to listen to, such a joy, such a sweet person. And then there were a few excursions as well, but I didn't sign up for any of them because I didn't know how well I'd be able to walk, which is just as well because it turned out I couldn't walk very well. I was exhausting myself. My COPD was really acting up. The weather change, we've got snow mold, we've got downtown cities fumes, pollen is starting. Overactivity gets me going. Talking too much gets me going. Trying to find what I could eat that wouldn't tickle the back of my throat. Breathing and talking, and especially when I get excited, it's difficult. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun meeting people and getting to talk to them. So, what was I going to say? I did get to go downtown for a short little walk, but I tired myself out, so I bought myself a walking stick. It's purple! I love purple. So there'll be a few pictures in that slideshow of the bus ride out, my walk around Jasper, bits of Jasper Park Lodge, and from the train ride back to Edmonton. So we took the Via Rail, which turned out to be a long excursion because Via Rail's passenger trains have to yield the way to freight trains. And it was a very busy freight day, apparently. But it was beautiful. The view from the mountains, the view in the mountains, absolutely beautiful. The train was three hours late getting into Jasper, so we were late getting started. And then the normally 5-hour trip took 11 hours because we stopped. I lost count after 20, but I'm pretty sure it was 30 times that we stopped to let a cargo train go by. Most of that route is only one single track at this point. So, yeah, it was a long excursion. We got into Edmonton at 1:30. I got to my hotel room at 2:30 a.m. And I had to leave the hotel at 8 a.m. for my bus back to Calgary. So I got home very exhausted. I still feel like I'm in the rocky motion of the train and the bus. But yeah, it was fun. So, this pullover, I started leading up to the trip as I knit along. This colorway was specially designed for Wool Winding Wheels, dyed by Ancient Arts Yarns in collaboration with Yarniversity for the trip. So it's reminiscent of Jasper Lake and the flowers and whatnot. We didn't really see very many flowers, and the lake had only just thawed out the day we arrived. Anyway, this sweater is called the Timeless Pullover, a pattern by, let me look and get her name right, Emily Ringelman. It's distributed by Knit Picks. There's a top-down circular yoke. So I went with the Jasper color as far as it would go. That skein was a special super size skein, so the equivalent of a skein and a half of a regular fingering weight yarn. And then complemented it with Midnight Clear, another sock needle colorway by Ancient Arts. Yeah, the pattern is written for lace weight held double, but this is fingering weight. It fits quite lovely. It did grow just a little bit when it was washed, which I knew it was going to because I pre-blocked my swatch. I'm loving the fit. It has some optional shaping where it decreases a little bit to the waist and then increases into an A-line shape. Let's see if I can show you the whole thing here. There we go. So for me, for my body shape, it worked just perfectly. I followed it exactly to pattern. If you're interested for comparison purposes, my bust circumference, my actual circumference is just under 40. I made the size 5, expecting 2 to 3 inches of ease, and that seems to be about what I got. Very well written pattern. I really enjoyed it. And now, the other pattern that I started before the trip was the Summer Road Trip Shawl, pattern by Caroline Summerfield. Pardon me. Many in the group were using their Jasper yarn to make either the Summer Road Trip pattern by Caroline Summerfield, who owns Ancient Art Yarns, or the Wraparound Scarf by Stephanie Pearl McPhee, who was our instructor for the trip. But I decided I wanted a sweater, so I made this. So with the road trip pattern, I went rogue. I have to call this my winter road trip rather than summer road trip, because I used a bulky weight baby boucle yarn that had been in my stash for a couple of decades. So the road trip pattern is a assigned pooling pattern. So it starts at a point. Yeah, I guess this point. And when you come to the color that has the shorter section, you do special stitches in assigned pooling. In this case, there were reverse stockinettes and some drop stitches, seafoam stitches. But with this yarn, it started out with the blue being the main color and the white being the accent color. And then, to my surprise, it switched and kept switching from the blue to the white. So every time I had to switch which color I used as my accent color to do the special stitches in. So I had to modify it a little bit to make sure that those drop stitches, seafoam stitches, didn't all pull up in the same spot. Turned out beautifully. Before I blocked it, it was all curly and wonky. It blocked out lovely. It's a nice big size. I just went with the 2 skeins I had as far as they went. I don't even know how much yardage I had. My leftover yarn I already put into my bucket of yarn barf. It was just a little tiny bit left over. The pattern does do a special bind off, but by that point I was ready to end it, and I just did a basic bind off rather than the border stitch. Anyway, great pattern. Do not recommend the boucle yarn, but I am very happy with this because of the color. Nice cuddly winter. I think I'll wear it like around my neck and face in the winter time. Bam. Yeah, I'm getting too hot already. The third finished object that I want to share with you, I have pictures for you because my daughter has this object now. She came home the weekend before my trip, and on that Friday night, she said she wanted a holder for her asthma inhaler so she can keep it within reach during her dodgeball games. So I thought about it through that night. I cast on Saturday, and she took it home on Sunday. So here are the pictures. I took a bunch of pictures as I was making it. Those of you who do socks can probably see where I got my ideas from. So what do you think? Is this a pattern that I should write up? I did this one in fingering weight that she picked from my stash, and I wrote my notes, including all my stitch counts. It didn't use much yarn, but I didn't actually calculate how much it used. So I could make another one for myself and remember to track the yardage. And I could maybe try other weights of yarn and work out what those stitch counts would have to be. What do you think? My whip section will be brief because I only have two projects that I've made some progress on. My Dodgeball version of my Stadium Sit-Upon pattern and the Snowflake design that I'm working on. So the Stadium Sit-Upon, those on the bed, the sports themes pillows / carry bags. I've talked extensively about them in the past few episodes. It's my pattern that I released in March. And then with the basic ball pattern, I can make any ball. So I decided to do a Dodgeball version for my daughter. Last episode, panel 1 was just ready to cast off, so there it is. And then panel 2 is really coming along. So that I use a traveling loop method of knitting because it's growing in size every second row, right? And on the bus, after I finished my shawl here, I started this part of it. This is the side panel that joins the two pieces together. So that's how that's going. It's mindless knitting now, so this will go back into my purse for purse knitting. And this will, I'll probably repackage it out of my bee bag and into my plastic car bag in case something comes up. Actually, we are going on another trip in 11 days. This will be good airplane knitting, both of these. And then I added the 4th color to my Snowflake Throw. For this throw, I've been designing from winter something. It was called the Enchanted Winter Fade, a set from Ginger Snap That out of Calgary. It was a 12 skein set in December, and so I'm adding 1 skein a month to keep up with it. So, it's fingering weight. It's a pattern I'm writing as I go. This center snowflake design, I charted that myself. This next section, the Snow Angels, is out of a Vogue dictionary, Vogue Knitting Dictionary. The Snowmen, I reversed engineered from a photograph of a pair of mittens. So I should try and find that photograph again so I can credit that designer. Now color 4, I've started, it's called the Snowballs from the Vogue Knitting Dictionary, but I think I'm going to call it Falling Snow. And that's an entire 50 gram skein in each section. No, it's about 49 grams in each section. I'm making sure that I keep it under 50 by a little bit by a gram so that it can be done with 50 gram skeins with a 12 Days of Christmas or whatever kit, a 12 skein fade. Or of course it could be modified for like 600 gram skeins. That'll be simple. So yeah, writing that as I go. I think now the next several sections are going to be the same stitch pattern until the next increase round. So I might start knitting faster than 1 color a month. I am excited to get back to this. Most of it is stockinette with a few yarn overs in it, so that's good TV knitting. Okay, let me get rearranged here and we'll do our acquisitions. Okay, for acquisitions, let's start before my trip. The weekend before that, the weekend my daughter came home, was the Spring Fling Fibre Shindig. Is that what it was called? Something like that. Here in Calgary, in northeast Calgary. It took place in a gymnasium space at the Genesis Center. It featured about 20 small yarn dyers and other related crafts like sparkers and wood products and lots of gorgeous stuff. Lots of gorgeous stuff. And the night before the Shindig, Kathy asked me to donate something to a silent auction or a raffle for her Dodgeball team to fundraise. So I went to the Fibre Shindig with that in mind. And, yeah, I hadn't worked out what I wanted to make. I still haven't quite. If you have any ideas for things to knit for fundraisers, please comment below. But first, I've bought this yarn. These colors pretty much match her team colors. Not the Team Canada team, but her local Edmonton team, City League team called Aurora, which means Northern Lights. And this pretty much matches her uniform colors. So I have, each set is 200, 2 by 200 yards, 400 yards, 800 yards total here. Fingering weight, Ridley Sock is the name of their base. I think it's the same yarn base that is from Sea Turtle Fiber. Did I show you that? The same yarn base that I used for 1/2 of Ilana's Muscle Burl hat. 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And this colorway is called Gnarly. And I pulled out of my stash this one that kind of matches too. So I could stretch my yardage by doing a border on something in this color. This is from That Yarn Habit out of Edmonton. It was a freebie in a VIP bag when I went to the Gathering Threads Festival in Edmonton. So I could pair that with this. So if you have any ideas of what I could make with this, I appreciate some input. I'm going to leave that sitting here in my sight for me to think about. And then I also bought, and they're already wound. I already wound them up, ready to cast on because I figured out what I'm going to make with these. These are from Poppy Yarn and Fibers on their Oral Sock base, which is the base I use for the other half of Ilana's Muscle Burl. This is also hand dyed in Calgary by Poppy Yarn and Fibre. 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% gold stellina. And what I'm going to do with this is re-yarn one of my first patterns. Let me show you the original. This is my lightning bug pattern. This particular one is my poncho. I wrote it in worsted weight because at the time that was all I ever knit with in 2020. I wrote it for a scarf, a wrap, or a poncho. And I had intentions of re-yarning it with this fingering weight in the wrap version. But I didn't check the pattern. I didn't check my yardage. I'm not 100% sure if I have enough yardage. We shall see. Or I could make the scarf version. Anyway. So yeah, this one of my first patterns back in 2020 during the pandemic, I was getting nostalgic for back home. So I have a bunch of patterns from that time frame that I collectively call memories of down home. And I really would like to someday write a book and put all those patterns together in a book. But this one, doesn't it remind you of being in the hayfield with all the fireflies when they all come out at night? Our neighborhood, the kids used to go out and play hide and seek almost every night, and some of us would hide in the hayfield with the lightning bugs. Others of us would hide up on the roof. That was not fair. Again, I'm getting hot. So yeah, so I'm going to cast that on right away because if I can finish it in time, I can donate it. But I really want to come up with something to make with these. That was the Fibre Shindig. Now, Ancient Arts Color of the Month. Let me pause and open this. Caroline at Ancient Arts has been doing the color of the month for a while now. Each year it's a different theme. So this year's theme is flowers in painting. And April is cherry blossom season, which seems to be the inspiration for this one. So I'll pop up her inspiration picture and I'll read the email that was sent out to subscribers. And I apologize for my bad pronunciation. The Japanese name, Tsukiya Koitsu, from 1879 to 1949. Is a celebrated Japanese artist known for his exceptional woodblock prints, especially those depicting landscapes in the distinctive Shinhanga style. The Shinhanga art movement drew inspiration from the French Impressionists and revolutionized the traditional style of Japanese woodblock prints by adding vibrant colors and incorporating the use of light and shadow. Although this style of art was considered too commercial and thus wasn't appreciated in Japan, it was highly sought after in Europe and North America, and there was a booming market for Shinhanga prints. April's color of the month takes its cue from a remarkable woodblock print titled Lake Kawaguchi, created in 1936. Lake Kawaguchi offers stunning views of Mount Fuji, especially from its northern shores during the cherry blossom season in mid-April. This print features snow-capped Mount Fuji and the lights from the village reflected in the tranquil waters of the lake. The soft pink color of the cherry blossoms in the foreground enhance the overall atmosphere of peaceful calm and serenity. Oh, that's gorgeous. I think my lighting is pretty good here. Yes. Now, the goodies from the Wine, Wools, and Wheels retreat. Some of the group were from the Monday Makers Meetup group that we do on Zoom every Monday, hosted by Barb and Cynthia of Yarniversity, who are the same ladies that organized this retreat. And two of the ladies in that group gave me gifts that I really appreciate. Marianne gave me some postcards, and she mentioned that she recognized that I didn't participate in the Christmas gift exchange because I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but she wanted to give me something. And I really appreciate this because it was an intentional gift rather than an obligational one, and it really means a lot to me. And these are special. I have a collection of knitting-related cards on the wall here beside me, and these will make a great addition to that. So, postcards and a greeting card. Social networking, it's what it says if you can't read it. And then this one is just a sweater. I love those. Thank you, Marianne. These will go on the wall here beside me. And I will take a picture of my wall and put it in here for you after I put these on it. Here's where I Zoom and podcast from. And here's my wall. A bike poster to remind me of my husband and all his support, because I support him in his biking. Poster from Butchered Garden that I would love to have yarn dyed in those colors. And then all my postcards from knitting stores and knitting friends. And the yarn that I need to decide what to make with. Then there was Jenny, who gave these little bags of goodies out. So let's open it and see what's inside. Look at the bag. It's shaped like a bottle, like a mason jar, a cork jar. It's got a cork in the top. Canning jar. So what do we got in it? We've got a little baggie of stitch markers and cord stoppers. I'm going to open those cord stoppers for you. These we would put on the ends of our pony cords that you've seen me use before, that when I put the stitches on hold to try on, I put them on pony cords. And rather than tying the cords together, we could put these on the end of it. Or maybe even they might fit on the ends of some small knitting needles to stop the stitches from falling off. So those are neat, plus several different kinds of stitch markers in there. And now we've got a snap bracelet ruler. That's very handy. Oh, it snaps backwards with the ruler markings on the inside. I have a longer version of these, but I like this short one. That's perfect. And we have another gift wrap. A nail file emery board thing. That is a perfect thing to keep in our knitting pouch, to catch those hangnails before they catch our yarn. Perfect. And chocolate. Always have to have emergency chocolate in your knitting pouch. That's awesome. Thank you, Jenny. And then we have a package that came from Barb and Cynthia of Yarniversity. So it contained a cardstock printout of a pattern, one of their patterns. The MVP beanie. And I remember them talking about this pattern in the past. It's designed by Lucy Neatby exclusively for River City Yarns, using the Hat Trick yarn, which is the yarn I used in the hockey stadium sit-upon. The Hat Trick yarn used to be dyed by Ancient Arts exclusively for River City Yarns. Now River City Yarns no longer has a brick and mortar store, but Ancient Arts still dyes the yarn. So anyway, that yarn, but it could be used with any fingering weight yarn. Nice pattern. This is the other page. Oh, that's my handout from one of my classes from Stephanie Pearl McPhee that I stuck in this bag. And then we've got this little pouch of stuff. And I think my favorite is this little thing. Let's put it right side up. Wool, Wheels and Wines, a label, a leather label strip, which I'm going to sew into the inside of the back of my sweater. Perfect reminder of why I knit it. And then we've got some magnets. Podcast On is the name of the podcast that the Barb and Cynthia at Yarniversity, their podcast, which I will link below. And a measuring tape. written on that. River City Yarns, their old store. And a coaster with their new logo. And a note. Welcome to our 2024 Wheel, Wine, and Wheels adventure, Barb and Cynthia. On a card that will go on my wall. Turn beautiful strings into beautiful things. And the best part of it is a project bag. This is a very special project bag. And Cynthia did a flight attendant style demonstration of how to use it and all of its many features. Let's see what I can remember. So it opens out. It's like a barrel. It's got a drawstring closure. Hooks. Where did this hook go to? I've forgotten. Somehow it hooks so that you could hang it and knit as you walk. And have I got it inside out? No. On the inside or outside, there's a pocket here and here for your tools. There's a thing here that you can hang your stitch markers on. And I know I'm forgetting something. But with the yarn in the bag, it will sit on the counter, on the desk or wherever. Very nice. Well, that's it. That's it for the acquisitions. That's it for me. Go check out my slideshow of our trip. I'm not the best photographer by no means, but I do hope that you find some joy in it. And until next episode, happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy embroidering, which my daughter does, happy beading, which my other daughter does, happy needle felting, which my other daughter does, happy jigsaw puzzling, which somebody else very special does, and whatever it is that you like to do, go find some joy.